Gary, how you doing? Lisa, hello. Paula. Give it a couple seconds here, guys. We'll get started. You guys have trouble getting on tonight? It seems like they're letting a little bit more conservative content free reign. Um, we'll see. Mike, how you doing? Okay, let's. Oh, wait a minute. Who we got? A couple more coming in here. Who we got? I think President Trump is has already sent messengers out to these um, social media companies. They're um, they're going to. I think they're going to get the whip cracked here, and I think maybe they're trying to ease um, what's coming by Suedo playing along. Um, so maybe they can buy some more time before they get shut down. Anybody that doesn't know about the executive order from 12/21/17 needs to look into that. That's the one that allows the government to seize the assets of any company or person who is involved in human trafficking or corruption, which means that Facebook, Twitter, Amazon um, are all going down. Google, Alphabet, which is part of Google, and the government's going to seize them. Probably about the same time he declares martial law. Um, so maybe they're trying to buy some time by backing off a little bit. At least, for me, Richard, how you doing? That's kind of how it's looking. This is not scientific at all, for sure, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Um, I want to talk a little bit about last night, and I'm not going to get into the topic, which was the satanic pedophilia, but I wanted to talk about talking about that stuff. Um, there's a double-edged sword when I talk about pedophilia. There's two things I'm trying to do here. Um, the first is obviously the knowledge. You've got to know about it because people are going to be coming to you, asking you about it, and you've got to be able to give them some answers. Um, the second part is getting you mentally tough enough to handle these questions. You can't handle the questions if you can't handle hearing about it. How's that going to work, right? You got people that are, newbies who know nothing and are overwhelmed and panicked. Um, that's going to be our time to shine. That's going to be our time to set the example. That's going to be our time to show how paying attention and digging and getting ahead of the curve is helping us make it easier for other people, because there's going to be a huge shortage of people who understand what's happening. You guys all know if the banks close, you're going to know why they closed. The pension funds get shut down. You were expecting it. It's when think about those things coming at you and not having a clue about them. How well are you going to do? And then on top of that, you hear about all this horror. That's why we have to talk about it. And probably talking about it more coming up, because we're going to be talking about it a lot. We're going to be talking about it probably every day after this breaks. That's what everybody is going to want to know about. They'll have questions about the economy and the government and what's going on and how it happened. But what they're really going to want to know is how did this happen with satanic pedophilia, satanic pedophiles running the world. That's what's going to be the scariest thing for people. Because then their thought is, if they are not educated, well, are they gone? Are they still in power? Who are they? That's when the world unites behind President Trump, because they understand. Their eyes open. And trust me, I've been doing this now for over 5 years. It's getting easier every single day to get through to people. They're wanting the information. It's great. It's exactly what we wanted, exactly what we hoped for, exactly what I kind of expected. But we can't look away because it's uncomfortable. That's part of what we're giving to this movement, is the sacrifice we're making in digging deeper into this stuff so other people don't have to. Because it changes you. It should change you. It really has to change us. It has to change us so we can make sure that this never happens again. We let our guards down, and it's not all our fault. Obviously, these people have spent a lot of time and money to get us to a point where that we didn't ask a lot of questions. They dumbed us down. Again, we talked about civics in school. Back in the 50s and 60s, they taught civics as part of, that was one of the main things they taught. They wanted kids to know about the Constitution, our history, and the Revolutionary War, and the whole 9 yards. what it means to the world. But not anymore. And that's where we're at. These kids have no clue why everybody wants to come here. They're so spoiled that they just take it for granted. Let me see here. So hang in there, guys. It's I know it's hard, but I think we're really close to the end which is basically now the starting line for the next phase, and that's where we're really going to be busy. But once we get into this, and my experience has been, this was really tough at the beginning, and as you kind of push through it, it gets easier with time. And when you have to talk about it every day, it obviously, you'll get to that point. It's part of the process, but we got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. Yeah, it's all part of putting others first, guys. Paying it forward. So we know that the head of Burisma was indicted in Ukraine, and now it turns out the investigation that supposedly President Trump was trying to force on the Ukrainian president, it's been going on for over a year, maybe two. So good luck with that, guys. The investigation you were trying to say he was forcing was already basically done. It was in its final stages. So they're out of luck there. You guys, I don't know if you've heard about this Rule 11 that looks like these. Another one. Now this doesn't mean so. Rule 11, it's a rule for Senate hearings that the minority party has the right, at least for one day of the hearings, to call any witnesses they want. And now they've invoked that, so they have to give like 24-hour notice. So they gave the notice this morning. So that means tomorrow Monday, I guess, if they're going to come back on Monday. I'm not sure what the schedule is next week, but when they come back, they're going to be able to, at least by the rules. Now, with the way this kangaroo court's been going, they could say, "Oh, sorry, what are you going to do?" This is all going to come back and bite these guys, because now not only are they are they violating the Constitution? But it shows, there's a conspiracy here. This never happened. They, again, round two, try to drum something up, conjure something out of thin air to remove a sitting president, which is treason. And trust me, this isn't going away for these guys. There has definitely been a different game plan instituted in the last few weeks, at least. Probably since before Thanksgiving. I mean, not Thanksgiving, before Halloween. Anyway, it's much more aggressive, much more pushing, because it's all coming up. So Rule 11, it's going to be devastating for the Democrats. And then here's the other thing, guys. If they decide to vote on impeachment. In other words, they decided to move it forward because this basically was just a sham. This was a way to stall it out for a couple of weeks to see how it took with the general public, right? Now they're going to decide whether they want to take a vote. I don't think they can take a vote because remember, this isn't a majority vote. This is 2/3. They've got to get 2/3 of the vote. They've already lost 2 Democrats. They can't afford to lose anyone. To get 2/3, they've got to get all the Democrats plus some Republicans. So how is that going to work with the show they've put on? I don't think I don't think they'll get any Republicans, and I think they would lose more Democrats if they did put it to a vote. So then the question is, how's that going to play over with the American people? Dead in their tracks. So I doubt that it's going to come to a vote. I doubt, and for sure, they can't get 2/3 in the Senate. That's not going to happen. And I don't know, does anybody know when they take their break, the holiday break? If you guys know, put it up, because that's going to be a pretty important date. Because they can't arrest anybody in Congress. Well, Congress is in session. So I'm betting that when they go out, that we might see the very first day some big time arrest, or that middle group of Comey, Brennan, Clapper, McCabe, Stroke, Page, Yates, that group, Lynch probably, Holder. I expect all those guys to be gone before Christmas. Obama, the Clintons, Kerry, Biden. Here's the thing about Biden. I think he's going to have to drop out of the race probably before Christmas, because there's too much heat coming in the Ukraine. So he's got all the heat now here, right? From Barr, and he's also got the heat in the Ukraine. But what they can't do is they can't get too deep into next year to the heavy campaigning starts, and then he arrests a bunch of the candidates. It's not going to get that far down the road. It's going to happen. Anybody in the campaign, maybe before the first of the year, just so they can't say that it was all about politics. Very soon it'll be really clear to the world this has nothing to do with politics. But they can't afford to even have the misconception of any wrongdoing, because they want to keep the civil unrest to a minimum. And if they can show why they're doing it, I think that's why they're releasing the report, the Pfizer report. And then either right before or right after that, and I think they say the release is on the 9th. Well, what is that? A couple of weeks? Things are moving, guys. They're moving really fast. So it's all good. Okay. Also, Durham's been looking into the Pentagon. And because of Halper, Stefan Halper, the CIA / UK spy, supposedly the Pentagon paid him $1 million. So this is the guy that was obviously involved in trying to infiltrate, treason, infiltrate or spying, either one, punishable by death, trying to infiltrate the campaign to set them up. Um, and it's funny. Supposedly, Horowitz hasn't been able to get any real documents. It's just like he got a check. Can't get any documentation as to what it really was, what he was really doing. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and then to see how many heads roll because of that. They're getting them both ways. They're getting them for the crimes they committed, and then they're also getting them for all the cover-ups they've had to commit, right? Like I said, there are all of them are going to have multiple treason charges. None of them are going to escape justice. None of them. Really quickly, I wanted to. Well, let's go. Let me go through the questions first, and then I might hit this so we have time. Yeah, see, I think we'll see how it goes, but there seems to be a shift on both sides. It seems that, and pay attention to this over the next week. It seems like maybe the mainstream media is starting to understand that there's no going back here, or that there's nothing they can do from this, but it's over, basically. And I think we're going to start to see some of those people try and save their butts and be a little bit more fair and equitable when they're reporting these stories instead of it all being so one-sided. Uh, they don't. They really don't have to do much because it's obviously been totally negative. So to get anything positive out of them is a move in the right direction. Um, yeah, uh, and we all know what today is, right, guys? It's I want to talk about that a little bit. 56 years ago today, JFK. I was 8 years old. I was at school. I think whatever that would be. What is that? Third grade maybe. Um, in Napa, California, and they sent us home early from school. And I remember the only other time that I ever felt this feeling was the morning of 9/11. Was the same thing. It was like just a hush. And the thing that was different about JFK was, there was such a positive, we'd come off went in the Second World War, and then we had the war hero who was the president and who got us through that huge event and was, I think, a really decent guy, and honest and loyal to the country. And then being kind of the old guard, and then you had JFK coming in that was going to take us, into the next century and get us prepared for that. And just his vision and his style and the things that he wanted to accomplish. He understood what his job was, just like President Trump. So when they murdered him, it was not only losing a president, but it was really hard to explain. It was so much more than a politician. Um, Almost heroic, because the people I think understood what he was trying to do. Kind of throw off, the old, basically the military industrial complex, the Federal Reserve, the globalist. He was going to weed out that globalist agenda when it was in its early stages. It had a pretty good foothold, obviously, but no, nothing like it does today. But the feeling in the country was just one of loss, heavy loss. I mean, grown-ups crying. To be a kid, you know, and I watched everything. Um, it was to see the grown-ups' reaction was the thing that hit me the hardest. Was, wow, this is a big deal. And to this day, even after the stroke, uh, that's something I remember vividly. And there's not a lot of, I think back, a lot of childhood memories that, obviously that's got to be a big one for anybody who was old enough to remember it. Um, Nothing like that. I mean, the moon landing was a pretty big deal, but of course that was a whole different vibe in the country, right? Because now we're beating the Russians, and even though that's up in the air, if it really ever happened, um, we'll see. I think all that's going to come out. The the other thing that's going to be hard for people is just to know how badly we've been lied to. Our history is completely different than what they've told us it is. Um, Science, medicine, technology. There's so many advances that were withheld for monetary purposes. You know, you think the oil companies and companies like PG&E want 0 point energy? No, it puts them out of business. So they've been suppressing that kind of stuff. Cars, you get 100 miles a gallon. Do you think the oil company wants that? Hell no. They talk that big game about, wanting to save the environment. We want to increase the, what they do? They make cars so they're 4 times as much. It doesn't make any difference anyway. I don't care what you do. You can't run enough vehicles on the earth that are going to affect the climate. It's ridiculous. A volcano spews out more CO2 in a day than mankind has since the beginning of time. It's crazy talk. It's not based on science. It's a hoax a hoax they were using to bleed us dry, because it was all about the money. You can see it. These carbon taxes. It's just a way for them to collect more money to put us in a worse situation and really not do a damn thing. So all that stuff's going to come out. All that behind the scenes maneuvering and manipulation and corruption that they used against us, to control us, to bleed us dry. It's tough out there right now for people. Most people are buried in debt. Most people are working more than one job. They're having a tough time making it. That's why you're seeing the homeless population skyrocket. It's not good. This stuff has to change. And these are the things that you need to be talking to people about when you have these hard conversations. This has to happen, guys. The swamp has to drain. The satanic pedophiles have to be exposed. The economy has to collapse. Not only does it have to, there's no stopping it. It's a mathematical certainty. Nothing's going to stop this collapse. There's no way in hell it gets to the 2020 election. I don't think it makes it to the end of the year. And neither do most of the financial guys that I follow, and those are the guys that get it right the majority of the time. Everybody's saying probably before Christmas. And then you've got all this stuff coming up with the repo rates and that whole can of worms that nobody's talking about. You're not seeing. I haven't seen the main. Well, not that I watch the mainstream media, but I haven't even heard of them talking about this issue. You know, it's coming out. You know, on YouTube on the conservative channels, but nobody's talking about this. This is worse. We're worse off than we were in 07 and 08. Right now, it's worse, and nobody's talking about it. It can't go on much longer. President Trump won't let it go on much longer because he's not going to allow them to get to September next year and then they collapse the economy right before the election. That's not going to happen. This economy is going to go down way before the election. So the president has enough time to get back on track, so it's going to be a non-issue. Plus the fact that when these pedophiles are exposed, the 2020 election's already won. Like I've said, 90% of the vote. The Democrats might not be able to field a candidate. You know, how many are Jill Stein going to get? What's she going to get, 1% of the vote? Everybody else on the Democratic side is going to be in prison. Who else are you going to run up there? Nobody that is going to, like I said, President Trump wins 90% of the vote in the 2020 election because there's too much coming down the road that's going to destroy mainstream media, Democratic Party. It's over. Most people don't believe it. That's the whole point of why we're doing what we're doing. If they believed it, this would already been over. It's people not wanting to accept it. We're all guilty of it. We've all done it at some point. I did it on the pedophilia. You know, as far as the severity of it. I knew it was there, but I had no idea the scope of it. That's the most disgusting thing. The royal family, CIA, FBI, the Vatican, former U.S. presidents, all involved, all on video. What is that going to do to the world? You know, what's that going to do to those people sitting in their living rooms? It's going to be devastating. And that's why I can't stress enough how important it is that we talk about this stuff. It's that simple. Well, that's Gary saying. That's Gary saying that most people aren't going to believe it until they see it on the mainstream, and that's what I'm saying. I agree with that 100%. But that's coming soon. That could be any day now. You're going to see these perp walks. And then it's a 24/7 onslaught worldwide. You won't be able to hide from the story. That's what the difference is, guys. We have all learned at our own pace. The newbies aren't going to have that luxury, and that is a luxury. They're going to have it. They're going to get slammed with it. It's going to be standing on the beach with a 100-foot wave coming in. That's what it's going to be like. That information is going to hit them just like that. It's like getting punched in the gut. You guys know the feeling. It's horrible. But we have to go through it. That's the reason they've survived as long as they have. Is because we didn't want to believe it. Now we have to believe it. There's no option here. You can't opt out. Yeah. That's the reports are that he got booted. It wasn't like it was his idea. If you saw I had to laugh when I saw his statement, right? Oh, well, I've decided that I wanted to step away because I didn't want to be a distraction, blah, blah, blah. So I've asked the Queen if that's okay. And she said yes. Yeah, she said yes, all right. With a boot, she said yes. And listen, the Queen's no better than he is. I mean, you know, she was doing it way before he was. These people are sick. And listen, guys, the content is the content. I basically spend the afternoon going through what's going on around the world and kind of let God point me in the right direction. So I'm not changing the content. This is what I'm going to do. I might go now. I might go 2 months. Well, I won't be able to go 2 months. But if you look at, me talking about, say, the pedophilia, I'd go weeks without talking about it. But it is what it is. And it's not going to change. Yeah. Eventually, I think before the end of President Trump's second term, the United States will be on a unified uh, online educational system from preschool through college. And we'll have, in a matter of a generation, the smartest kids on the face of the earth. Because what's happened is we've let the system and the globalist control the educational system, and look what it did to us. I mean, these guys were smart. They hit us on every front: medicine, education, technology, government, politics, judicial. They almost own the whole thing. So yeah, there's a lot of positive things coming, guys. And that's what you got to get through to people. The world, it's going to be heaven on earth. A year, 18 months from now, you will not recognize this planet. It's going to be so much better. Yeah, the New York Times can report whatever they want. Um, I can guarantee you that Comey, Stroke, McCabe, Page, Lynch, Comey, Clinton, Obama, Biden, Kerry are all going to be executed for treason. The New York Times can say whatever they want. Yeah, Trump is way smarter than people give him credit for. Yeah, well, just look at the mainstream media's track record. When have they told the truth in the last 3 years? I mean, it's. I don't know how liberals can watch CNN anymore. I mean, that's being naive to an extreme because time after time after time they've lied to you. I know they've got you so worked up that you can't accept President Trump, but at some point your critical thinking skills have to kick in here and you have to start questioning these lies. And you're seeing it happen by the tens of thousands. Democrats are leaving the party and flooding. Hashtag walkaway. Watch some of those videos. Go to hashtag walkaway. My God, some of the stories are amazing. You guys talking about the lawyer? Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So I was going to hit that. Let's see. There's actually. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So the lawyer, I'm not sure whether it's DOJ or FBI. It doesn't make any difference. They're one and the same. Um, who worked on the FISAs? He's definitely going down. Horowitz is on him right now. So he's going to be one of the and I think what's happening is the guys the next level up are trying to throw this guy under the bus. Well, what's going to happen next is this guy's going to start singing like a bird because they would rather do something to have this guy flip on everybody that's above him. So, and again, guys, there is so much evidence. It's just like we were talking about Epstein. We don't need Epstein. Is he alive? I think he is. But if he's dead, it doesn't make any difference. No one's going to get off because Epstein's dead, because they have all of Epstein's tapes. He kept meticulous records. It was like the easiest case because he was an operative. He knew how to write reports. This isn't just like some Joe Blow doing this. This guy was trained to do this stuff. And the NSA's got it all. President Trump has it all. No one's getting off. They kept saying these guys are stupid. Yes. And it's going to lead to every single one of them being executed for treason. Uh, okay. Yeah, we've been waiting a long time for this, guys. I am so ready. But it is when it is, right? And I'm telling you, a day doesn't go by that I don't think at least once or twice, I'm glad we had this extra day because I got somebody else to buy some Litecoin or some silver or, to buy a few bags of rice. Um, little by little, guys, we're chipping away at this. So it's not over. Don't let up yet. My nephew Daniel, how you doing, Daniel? Yeah, you made it finally, huh? Good to see you. Yep, Attorney General Barr is doing a pretty good job, and I think better than much better than people expected. This is going to turn out good. Yeah, yeah, that was something when Ruby shot Oswald. It was almost it was really strange the way that whole thing went down. I mean, I saw it live. I mean, I remember watching that as because everybody, of course, was glued to the TV um, to find out what was going on. And there was a live camera, I think, when they brought him out, and how this guy, you've got to expect there's going to be a lot of angry people, right? It was like he walked right up to him Nobody jumped in front. Nobody grabbed this guy. You kind of knew right away with the movement he made, he's got bad intentions. It looked, and again, it was staged. They let him have a free shot at this guy. Yeah, in fact, I saw, uh, I don't know if it was a video or article today that they're actually talking about the left, how they can collapse the economy to blame on Trump. Jesus, unbelievable. And we know that's going to happen, right? I mean, they're going to use the economy against President Trump any way they can. I mean, that's all they have left. It looks like. Yeah, Andrew's gone. George Bush, Papa Bush, Daddy Bush was he's I don't know if you guys have been watching. You know what I think of Bush. He's he's I think he's as bad as Hitler. He planned the assassination of John F. Kennedy. He's been in the CIA since before the Second World War. So yeah, he's as dirty as they come. One of the worst pedophiles, they say. Um, yeah, they he got way too good at the end. What they gave this guy, he needs to be exposed for who he was because he wasn't good. And the kid was, I can't say it's bad because I think he was just an idiot who got drug into this lifestyle and then had nowhere to go. Daniel's talking about the interview with the BBC. Yeah, the Queen is cutthroat. They'll, they're satanic pedophiles. They torture kids to death. I mean, we shouldn't expect anything else. We shouldn't be surprised by anything they do. Yeah, there is some awesome info out there, guys. If you start digging, and we post most of it on either the Watchman page or my page. Yeah, what you have right now, Kathleen's talking about her older sister in CNN. It's they're giving them hopium. It's like they keep dangling that. Well, we got another angle. This is a sure thing for impeachment. It's dangling that carrot to get these idiots to show up and tell them what they want to hear. And how many people? Listen, you should be embarrassed of yourself if you live in the United States today and you still think President Trump is racist. It's embarrassing for you. You need to keep your mouth shut. You need to do some homework if that's what you think, because I'm not going to say the least racist president because I don't think. Well, I know LBJ was, but I don't think JFK was. I don't think Eisenhower was. Um, but it's that propaganda that you know Mockingbird, Project Mockingbird, controlled, CIA controlled media over and over again. Racist, racist, racist. Did you see how many awards he got from the black community over the last 30 years? And what, that all changed when he decided to run for president? Now he's a racist? He decided now, I want to be a racist because I'm running for president. It. How do you justify people like Sharpton who were glad handing and smiling and best buddies and giving him awards and presenting him for awards, and now he's the worst racist you ever saw. One, how do you live with yourself? And then, for the people looking in from the outside, how do you buy that? How do you explain the contradiction there? It's easy when you understand the whole globalist scenario. They don't hate him. They liked him, actually. But now he's the enemy. So they've got to take him out. Yeah, not since Edward R. Murrow have we had a newsman that's worth his salt. I can't think of a one. They're all run by the CIA. You don't think these guys knew? I mean, I've mentioned this before. How in a world this big, with as many stories going on around the world, with only 3 stations when I was a kid, 3 stations. Every single station was covering the same exact story at the same exact time, in the same order. So if you flipped channels, you were getting the same story from 3 different channels. How is that possible if these people are supposed to be competing against each other to get the scoop on each other? That was all for show. There was no scoops. It was what the CIA, it was the stories that the CIA wanted you to tell. And it's no different today. They're just more bold about it because so what? What are you going to do about it? The people who know they're frauds, they're not going to change our minds. And the sheep, they're too stupid to see it. They won't see it. Like I've said, they will get force-fed their red pills. They're not going to get it on their own. Those are the ones that are going to be the hardest to work because they're the ones that are going to get hit the hardest with cognitive dissonance. And we're going to spend the majority of our time dealing with people like that. And that's the job, guys. No hard feelings. No rubbing their noses in it. Listen, when this is all said and done, we're all Americans. Anybody who's a citizen that believes in our Constitution, I'm going to give them any help I can whenever I can. Is it going to be hard when it's people that I know and maybe who mocked us? And hey, that's what God wants. We can all get along here, and we've got to set the example. They have got these liberals so afraid. You know what they think? They actually think that when this all goes down, that we're going to come and hunt them down. That we're basically going to murder them. That's what they think. That's what they've been convinced of. It kind of shows, that they're not the brightest bulbs on the planet. But hey, we just need to do our jobs. Warn as many people as we can up until this goes down. And then help as many as we can on the backside. Easy. The worst part's, the hardest part is done, I really believe. To me, this next phase coming, I really look forward to that. Once we get through the fighting the truth, that, okay, this is the truth now. What we've been telling you is true. Now, here's the whole story. Here's how it happened. Here's what you can do to help yourself. That's going to be a lot better than what we've been going through. Because now they're going to be looking for reasons to accept it and reasons to explain it. And that's going to be our biggest job. Yeah, Oprah's definitely in the middle of this in a bad way. Yes. President Trump, when he declares martial law, he'll probably seize the banks, He'll seize all the power companies. He'll seize all the media. Basically, all those executive orders that Obama wrote when they were going to take us out, he's going to use to stabilize everything. Again, it's that boomerang. You can't write a better script. Over and over and over, we're seeing the same thing happen. The things that they developed to take us down, we're turning back on them and using either to take them down or use it to expose them. You can't write it better. Yeah, 22 people walking shot on the 22nd. How about that? Yeah, everything's going to be seized. Well, when I say everything, they're going to let YouTube alone. They'll let Facebook alone, but all of the networks, they're all going to be seized. They will not allow them to spew the propaganda once this thing starts. And they're going to be, well, I'm not going to say most of them. There's a lot of them that are going to be arrested for conspiracy to commit treason. Bush was there the day in Dallas. They got pictures of Bush Sr. in Dallas the day that Kennedy was assassinated. And he's admitted that he was there. But he always says, oh, I don't remember where I was. There's not a person who's over 10 years old, probably over 5 years old, that can't, at the time that in 63, when President Kennedy was assassinated, who doesn't remember where they were when that happened. It's like the same thing for 9/11. You ask anybody who was alive in 9/11, they might not be able to tell you where they were yesterday, but they know where they were that day. Same thing with Kennedy. Thanks, David. Yes, the mind control is strong. MK Ultra, guys, they spent a lot of time and a lot of money on the research for this stuff, on how to do this very thing. How to use the media to take over the country without firing a shot. That's what their goal was, and they almost did it. Yeah, the Nazis never lost the war. They just moved over here. And we let them. I mean, that's all. Again, the globalist. Globalism is a scourge, and it is basically over. President Trump, by the time he leaves office, will have destroyed every asset the globalists have. No, listen, Obama's wealth is going to be seized. That brand new house he bought is going to be seized. Obama is going to be executed for treason. Anybody in the top, I don't see anyone in the upper administration for Obama escaping execution, because they're all involved in treason on some level. Yeah, yeah, it was a dark day in 1963. But today, I think we start a new age, and it's the age of the people, and not the globalist agenda. Um, and we're headed down the right road, guys. We just need to keep plugging. Don't be discouraged. Um, we're almost there. Don't give up. Be positive when you're talking to people. Explain it so they understand why these things have to happen. And You can't let this stuff go on. It's even worse knowing about the pedophilia if it's just going to be allowed to continue. Think about that. So I've been saying all along, guys, I couldn't write a better script. Let's stay positive. Let's keep pushing forward. And remember, fear not. God and President Trump are 1,000% in control. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5. God bless.